So don't tell any of my students that I'm going to teach you something that I normally have a whole course on. Every substance has a unique target in the brain. So things like stimulants, things like which would include cocaine and amphetamine, act very differently in a different population of cells than things like heroin, which are the opioids and the opiates, which act very differently than, say, things like cannabis and then again tobacco. They all have what are called a common target, right? So there's a circuit in the brain called the reward pathway. So I've got my little brain model here. I've pulled it in half. Don't ever do that to your own brain. And the population of cells that we're interested in, the ventral tegmental area, don't worry, there's no exam. They release dopamine. No matter what drug it is, alcohol, nicotine, cannabis, they act on this cell here, which releases dopamine all into the front of the brain. Whoosh, you get this like flow of dopamine, and it goes primarily into this part of the brain here, the very front part of the brain, but also another region of the brain that's located just adjacent to the ventral tegmental area. It's called the nucleus accumbens. Again, don't worry, no exam. And the nucleus accumbens is involved in our sensation of pleasure and reward. And so this is why psychoactive substances, addictive substances, even though different targets, commonly what they do is they give us a sensation of pleasure or a high, because you're getting this flood of dopamine into that key brain region that is normally there and is activated when we encounter natural rewards. So if we eat a tasty substance, or we have sex, or we dance or play hockey, we get this like activation of dopamine. And the reason that it's there is it was evolved with our ancestors back in like caveman days, that when they encountered food sources or a sexual mate, there was a part of the brain that said, boom, remember this, right? This is really important, because our ancestors were living in times that these kinds of things were unpredictable, right? Like we didn't have our like convenience stores, vending machines, Walmart, Costco. No, we had to like go out and like hunt boar, and that was going to be challenging, and we may die, right? So when we encountered those super tasty, high caloric food sources, poof, like wave of dopamine, I feel good. And at the same time, we're going to parts of the brain that are involved in, like I said, this front region of the brain here, that's involved in planning, goal-directed behavior. Other parts of the brain that are involved in memory. So we can plan to go out and to get those food sources and sexual mate in the future when we're hungry or thirsty or what have you. So back to drugs and addictive substances, we activate this brain region, and you can imagine what it does is it's saying, remember this, this is really good, it's really important, we need to plan for this again. So that, in a nutshell, is sort of the basics of how substances impact the brain. And let me try to put my brain back together.